studio and come back in in order for it to reset, but luckily it still works.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, we should be live now on the YouTubes.
Excellent.
So,
And let me get my notes going. That's the last
you
thing
got
I
the
got.
notes up. Oh,
Oh, I got my notes.
okay, your own stuff. All right. I don't. Do you think? What do you think the chances are that Eric did the show notes before leaving for vacation? Let's see.
That's a good question.
Oh my god, I don't even know what folder they're in.
I got it.
See. You got it?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Episodes. Oh, I got it. Let's see.
Just the last one.
Yeah, this is just copy and paste from last week, eh? All right.
Yeah. Sorry, get the ad read.
Yep. And it says 1, do mic check.
That's for him, I think.
Yeah, okay. All right, want to roll the music and let's get into this bad boy?
Yeah, let's knock it out. All right, here we go. Intro.
Welcome to Off the Cut.
Dude, I haven't touched any wood in a long time.
I don't care how long it is.
Or you're trying to make eye contact with the person.
Maybe you're looking at it from the wrong angle.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad we got the explicit out of the way early.
If I'm going to put money into this, it's going to be great. And I guarantee it.
Get it?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Off the Cut podcast. It is Tuesday, April 29th, and this week we are absent one of our three musketeers.
That's right.
Okay.
Anyone care to guess who?
Look, I believe in corporate jargon, they call this trimming the fat. And we got rid of our weakest member. So it's just going to be Deric and I tonight. And we're going to have a good old time without him. Now, before we get into all the fun stuff that Deric and I have planned for the night, we have to pay some bills. So let's talk about the hostess with the mostest who keeps this show going. You know who that is, Deric?
KM Tools?
Well, I was going to say Jonathan Katz-Moses, but yeah, he runs KM Tools too. So I actually don't know. I should check and see if he pays us directly himself or if it comes from kmtools.com. Anyways, kmtools.com is the premier place to get your woodworking tools and supplies as well. I believe they have Boss Dog glue on there and stuff like that.
They got saw blades.
Yeah.
Bits.
Yeah. And you know why that is, Deric?
Because it's for woodworkers by woodworkers?
Exactly. You're right. You're right. And that means that everything in their store is either designed by Jonathan and his team or people he's partnered with, or it's actually stuff they use in their workshops themselves. So it's not a bunch of cheap crap from, I don't know, unreputable companies that he just got the highest margin on possible. He's not bringing stuff over in container ships.
He's not white labeling it.
Exactly. He's working hard on this stuff. And one of the best parts about shopping at KM Tools is that a portion of every single sale goes to the Katz-Moses Woodworkers with Disabilities Fund that puts tools in the hands of people who need them.
Great organization.
And you want to tell the fine people at home what Jonathan also does for our patrons?
Well, if you sign up for our Patreon at any level, you'll be entered into a drawing that we do once a month for a $50 gift card to KM Tools. It should be noted, though, that whichever level you pick, if you pick a higher level, you do get more entries. So there is incentive there.
That's true. And we don't actually say that enough, I don't think.
No, we don't. I don't think so. Yeah, but all you have to do is go over to Patreon and sign up, and you're automatically entered to win.
That's right. We actually have patrons who are net positive, I think. Well, in terms of some of our lower tier members give us, I think it's like $3 a month.
I think it's $5 now.
It's $5 now. Okay. So, but there are people out there who have, given us $5 for a couple months and want a $50 gift card. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
All right. Well, let's, I guess, address the elephant in the room. Eric's not here because he's on vacation. He's very selfishly taking a vacation. He's probably on a beach right now, sipping a Mai Tai and laughing at us.
Celebrating an anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. Like oh, my Lord. Going on vacation with your spouse. I haven't been on a vacation with Sophie in a long time. I kind of miss it. When was the last time you actually got to go, just you and your wife without the
Oh
kid?
man. 2007 we went to San Francisco. That was the last time we went on vacation without the kids.
Okay, so almost 20
Yeah.
years ago. I feel like
Yeah.
having kids obviously changes the dynamic completely,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We only just recently in the past, I'd say 2 or 3 years, started going out and having just like date nights where we
Yeah.
could leave the kids at home because they're a little older. And those have been nice. It's kind of
Yeah.
like a mini getaway.
Yeah, for sure. How long do you think have you like established a time with your wife, like where you guys will feel comfortable like leaving the country or leaving the state and
Oh,
leaving your kids behind?
I don't know that we would ever leave the country, but we could
Okay.
probably. Well, actually, you know what? I take it back. I need to make an amendment. There has been one other time where we went on vacation without the kids after having the kids, and that was 2018. We went to Las Vegas and renewed our vows with an Elvis impersonator under the
Oh,
big neon Las Vegas sign.
very cool. Very
So that
cool.
was pretty cool. We did 2 days. So we flew out one day, we got there, and then later that night we did the vow renewal, and then we had the whole next morning and afternoon, and we flew back home that second night. We left them with the grandkids. It
Hmm.
was great. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot
I
of
feel
fun,
like
but
that's the opposite of what most people do. They do like a lot of people will do the Vegas or the quick wedding,
yeah,
and they'll be like, oh, like it was we were just in a rush, we got it done, and then 5 years later they'll have a big party as like a vow renew, yeah, vow renewal. Jeez, I can't
bowel.
speak tonight. Yeah.
Nah, yeah, it was a lot of fun. We talked about like because we did our original wedding on the beach in Maui, and that was just for us, and a couple of family members came out, and that was pretty nice. And we said,
Cute.
if we ever do it again, it'd be really fun to just do a fun one, go out to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Vegas or something and get like an Elvis impersonator or something like that. And I think we've had some other things come up where we've been like, oh, that's a good idea for one.
Oh,
To
so you're
do,
gonna do like a series? You're gonna have
yeah,
more? Yeah, okay, that's cool.
yeah, we thought it'd be fun to kind of go and like do a couple different like vow renewals and some
Oh, I
different
like
things.
that.
Like we want to go to like Ireland at some point after the kids grow up and move out. And we thought it'd be fun to go and do a vow renewal like on the
Hmm.
cliffs in Ireland or something like that.
Cliffs of Moher.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
so we
beautiful
got
there.
some ideas.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. When you were in Vegas renewing your vowels, were you in a waiting room with a bunch of drunk people?
No, actually, we
Okay.
just caught an Uber out to, and we met the guy under the like the big neon sign. You're in, the big like "Welcome to Las Vegas" sign, like the
Mhm.
classic sign. We just met him underneath that. There's like a grass off section that you can go and like hang out in and get your, like take your selfies in front of the sign and everything. And so we just
Sure.
met him there, and we just did it on the spot real quick. And he
Okay.
had like an assistant there, like his wife, I think. And she, handled all the paperwork, took photos and all that fun stuff. And it was pretty fun. We had a lot of fun
Very
with
cool.
it.
That's very cool. I've actually never been to Vegas, so my entire understanding of that city is based purely on popular media, The Hangover and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, I will say it is probably one of the more expensive cities we've been to for sure.
Really? Because I always
Oh yeah.
look, you talk about doing bachelor trips and stuff with your buddies, and it's always one of the cheaper cities to fly into and stay at because they want to get you into the hotel or
Yeah.
to the casinos, right? But once you're
Yeah.
actually there, it's really expensive.
Oh yeah. I think we paid like everywhere we went, just about it was like $10 for a bottle of water or something
Oh,
like
damn.
that. I mean, things were just like crazy marked up. Ubers were expensive, and just like all the little things that they can nickel and dime you on, they're getting you on, and
They do it.
you're gonna
Okay.
pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's
food
very
was
good to know.
definitely expensive there.
Okay. I like traveling places. Like I've been to Vietnam twice. I've been to Thailand. I like traveling places where it's way cheaper than what you're used to because you feel like a king everywhere you go.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
remember in Vietnam, like I'd go out to eat with two or three of my friends and we'd have a whole dinner and the bill would come at the end of the night. It'd be like $14. And you're like, this is
Oh
great.
yeah.
This is how it should be.
Don't worry, guys, I got this one.
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry, everybody. This one's on me. And like that's four adults and drinks and everything. Like it's really cheap in some of these places. So yeah.
Well, had to crack into my first one.
Yeah, why not? I'll join you. So I thought maybe a fun thing tonight was, I feel like Eric and I spend a lot of these episodes kind of talking about what we're doing and what our, kind of our perspective on the whole social media thing is. But I thought it might
Cool.
be fun to kind of discuss, because you're in a, I mean, I don't mean to be derogatory here or anything like
No,
that, but you're in a different position than we are.
absolutely.
Like, you're still on the up and coming, you're still in the earlier stages of your social media career. So I kind of wanted to, maybe talk through some of what that's like. And I also think, I know a lot of people who listen to the show are also on their social media journey. They're starting out, or they're in, the earlier stages as well. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk through what that's like.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually, I just, we've been talking about creator courses and stuff like that. Yesterday I signed up for my first one.
Ooh, whose?
I've been advertised this one for months now. Like, they just keep coming up, and finally I just was like, well, let me look it up because it's only like $60 to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look into what it is. It's called One Peak Creative, and they're all about like, they're focused more on like short-term stuff.
Okay.
And so I thought that'd be good. Yeah.
Short term or short form?
Short form. Sorry. Short form.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's all about getting the hook in the first few seconds and all this other stuff. And,
all right. Let me know how that goes, because I feel like that is an area where I'm still very weak. I need to definitely step up my short form game.
Yeah.
So
I figured that's where I've got the most success so far. I'm going to focus.
Sure. Double down on that.
Double down on that a little bit. And because the long, man, doing the YouTube videos, that's just, it's so time consuming. That's the hardest part.
If you're not getting paid for it,
it's even harder.
Yeah, to devote 50, 60, oh God, I mean, some of my videos I devote 100 hours to pretty easily. To do all that work and not get paid for it, or worse, to like not even to not get paid for it, but then to do it and then have the video bomb or not meet your own expectations is really rough. I kind of think that's why the long form content is like, it's one of the harder nuts to crack, I think. Although, I mean, look, I don't want to look down on short form content, because that's a whole other game and it's a whole other skill set that's also extremely challenging. So do you think there's more of a future for you in short form content, or is it more so that it's a little bit like a lower barrier to entry? What's making you choose to focus your energy there?
I feel like with the short form stuff, it's first off been, the only things that have paid, if of anything, for what I've done. And I feel like if I can dial that in and kind of start getting the bigger numbers more consistently, I could make that into a fairly lucrative payday from what I've seen and what I've understood.
100% you could.
And I find the editing of the short form way easier than editing the long form, obviously, because you're only focused on like a minute and a half, 3 minutes tops.
There's not as much scope to it. So you're able to be a lot more precise, and you can think about it too. Like, you can spend a good amount of, like, you can sit down and spend like 3 hours, whatever number it is, but you can sit down, spend an amount of time, map out exactly how you want your minute or whatever it is to look like, and you can be really precise and pay a lot of attention to detail. Whereas when you get into the long form stuff, sometimes you start to feel a little bit overwhelmed and you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Bogged down in the details of the long form stuff for sure. And then I'll have content from like my last long form that I did that's been a while with the desk. I was able to generate out, I'm still pulling little short form things out of that and able to turn that around fairly easily. And then, like the whole video, like I did a long form version of that video, but I was able to condense it down to under 2 minutes and run it as a short form as well, and kind of get the same point across. And then expand on that and make it out to, like, I think it ended up being like a 10 or 12 minute video for the full version of it, if it was even that much. But yeah, that was, and just, I find the short form is a little easier to edit too, because the scope is so much smaller. It's easier to have a more defined point that you're trying to make. But at the same time, I do feel like shortchanged in that it's harder sometimes to capture everything I want to within a video, within that 1 to 3 minutes or whatever.
For sure. And I mean, I think that's one of the things, like Eric and I talk about with the long form stuff, is like he wants to do these courses because he gets to be even more long-winded And I feel like the short is just there's all this nuance and all this detail. And when you're doing short form content, you kind of have to throw that stuff out the window. I mean, depending
Mhm.
on, if you're just sharing a small tip, then I guess you can go pretty in detail. But if you're trying to show a whole project,
Yeah,
you kind of have to talk in very, very broad strokes.
and very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So are you hoping that you can use the short form stuff to kind of bootstrap doing more of the long form stuff? Or do you see yourself creating a business that's more just focused on the short stuff?
Yeah, I see it as a stepping stone to getting
Okay.
to the longer form stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like
Yeah.
kind of using it to instead of looking okay, this is a good way to look at it. Instead of looking at my wall of tools and saying all of these need to be sharpened and then sitting down and trying to sharpen them all at once, I'm going to focus on one at a time
Yeah.
and work through that skill
Yep.
or aspect of the storytelling and kind of refine like how to get that hook in, how to like
For sure.
keep it moving, how to keep the audience retained for 1 to 3 minutes,
Yeah.
and then extrapolate that
Yep.
across 5 to 10 minutes, and then eventually like 10 to 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
maybe beyond that if it calls for it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very smart strategy and something I wish I did more early on in my career. And yeah, it's I don't know. I did kind of walk a similar path to you in that I did try and use short form content to bootstrap the longer form stuff. And I was kind of, I started making some money off short sponsorships on Instagram. I think it was mostly on Instagram where I started earning a little bit of
Mhm.
money. And then I'd throw in like YouTube sponsorships as almost like a kicker when I was really just like trying to get that going. I'd say, oh, for
Yeah.
extra $500, like I'll also include a shout out to your product to my YouTube video. And it was like those first few kind of brand deals allowed me to hire the editor and spend a little bit more time crafting it, paying for materials for the YouTube video and all these things. It was
Yeah.
yeah. Man, it is kind of a wild business and a really hard one to get started in.
Yeah.
I've
'Cause
spent time thinking like wish I went right into YouTube, but maybe I would have floundered and washed out if I had tried to do that.
yeah, I definitely feel that, like,
Yeah.
with the long form stuff, I feel like, um, yeah, it's pounding my head against the wall, like, it's
Yep.
just this last video that I've been trying to edit since, I don't know, probably November, and, I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. I
Yeah.
got my voiceover recorded, and I'm kind of editing towards that. But the further away from the project I get, I feel like the less I lose uh, sight of the scope of the project, and so I'm having to like hunt for. Oh, I know I did this, but I don't remember exactly where I shot that, and I want to include it.
Yeah.
And so it's like a
Yeah.
lot of like hunting through old video.
For sure. I
Yeah.
find what helps with that is when you sit down and craft an outline before
Yeah,
starting
that's
the
what I figured.
project, and then you can kind of know, like, I mean, this is a level that I don't take it too personally, but I could see how it'd be handy is, like I usually lay out all my footage by day. So if you
Mhm.
had an outline, you could match which steps you shot on which days, or like which
Oh, okay.
sections of the video you shot on which days, and then you can use that to kind of locate footage a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that, like trying to outline ahead what I wanted to
Mhm.
shoot, and then using that in the edit, and only shooting what I wanted. And that I feel like I've gotten better about that, about only shooting what I feel like I'm going to need instead of
Yeah.
just setting up the camera and running throughout the entire process. Which,
I mean, look, there's pros and cons to both, but I
yeah,
like to remind myself that every minute of footage that you shoot is a minute that you're going to have to review at some point.
yeah. And I
So,
find that whenever I do think about it in terms of like whenever I'm mindful about what I'm shooting, in that, okay, I'm putting these two boards together. So I want to show maybe a second or two of laying down the glue, putting on the screws, screwing it together, just enough for me to be able to talk about what I'm actually doing in that moment.
yeah.
I'm shooting more close-up stuff. I'm shooting stuff that makes a lot more sense, that isn't so broad, that isn't so wide, that you're losing all the detail. I'm shooting more detailed stuff, and it
Yeah, for
shows.
sure.
And
Yeah,
it
and when
shows for
you
sure.
but doing that requires thinking ahead. Like, you have
Yeah.
to think through every step. You have to, like, kind of plan out, like, okay, what am I gonna be talking about here so that I can film it in the right way to support that voiceover later? And
Yeah.
it's that's definitely a skill that you build as you do it a few times, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to kind of know what your voiceover is gonna be before you even sit down to write your voiceover.
Yeah.
So there
And right
is
now it's like I'm thinking about it almost as I'm doing it, and so I'm shooting it simultaneously, but I'm thinking about, like, how I want it to look and then shooting that
yeah,
as I'm
exactly.
doing it. And then,
Yes.
yeah, like you said, it's all about, like, thinking about that maybe the day before
Yeah.
or a few days before, and eventually at the beginning of the project, thinking the whole way through it
Yeah.
and shooting that all the
I
way
don't know
through.
what you were like as a student in school, but
Very last minute.
very last minute, and I was kind of the same way. And people would tell me like all these organizational hacks, like, oh, like if you take notes, well, I mean, this is more of a university thing, but if you take notes during class and then after class, you sit down and you spend 20 minutes organizing your notes and rewriting them, your
Mhm.
retention will go up 100%. And I would hear that, and I'd be like, no way, I'm not doing that. That's too much work. Screw that. And I kind of feel like, the sitting down to write an outline before a video is kind of one of those things. And I
Yeah.
only now in my 30s, I'm like, okay, if I want to be successful at this thing, I actually do have to take it seriously. And I have to do that kind of like uncomfortable work, the stuff that I instinctively don't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I hear like you guys talking about whenever, you go out and you shoot and then you come in for the day and you load everything into the computer and you go ahead and you make like quick rough edits right then.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. I wish I could do that, but I just don't have that at the end of the day.
Well, that's the I mean, the kind of luxury of having it be a full-time job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I only started doing that once I started treating it like a full-time job where I was, I would go, I would shoot for the day, and then I would leave time at the end of the day to come back. Because when I was trying to do it around the day job, I'd be like, okay, Saturday, Sunday, those are the only 2 days I have to film this week.
Yeah.
So I just go and shoot as much as I possibly could, and then I would like pick away at it in the off hours throughout the week, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit harder to do it that way. Still
Yeah.
possible, but it's definitely more efficient and your mind's more focused. Because if you come back at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, you think through all the things you want to say, you kind of think through your hypothetical voiceover. You come back at the end of that's still fresh in your head. So you lay out
Yeah.
all the footage on the timeline, and then you're doing your kind of rough edit. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I wish that I could somehow tap into my computer through my tablet. Because if I
Mm.
could, when I'm sitting at night, whenever my wife are just hanging out watching TV or whatever, catching up, I could be just passively trimming the fat, like
That's true.
cutting off the little bits here and there.
Yeah,
But I have to come up to my office every time I want to edit. So that kind of makes it like it's like
I
I got to
know.
remove myself from everything else.
There's a part of editing that's very active, and you're thinking like, is this the perfect clip
Hmm.
for this moment? And then there's a part of editing that's just like trimming the fat. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I walk into frame here, I can cut all that out.
Yeah.
There is part of it you could do while you're just like watching TV.
Right.
I mean,
Or like,
yeah,
oh, yeah.
Keith and Jason edit or used to. Jason still does. I think Keith
Yeah.
uses a computer now. He used to edit on the iPad. So there is a way to do it. There is a
Yeah.
world where that happens, but it's tricky. I'm like you. I have to be at the computer to do it.
I've tried the first couple long form videos I did on YouTube,
Hmm.
I did on my tablet, or I think the first one I did on my phone actually. And then I started doing them on my tablet because I had the bigger screen. And they actually put the app on the tablet. But man, it's just like you don't have the same control. It's not
Yeah,
as granular as you can get with on your desktop and everything with like
for sure.
Premiere Pro and everything. It's very like and the finger, like having to like put your finger on the timeline, and I always find that when I let go, it'll jump just a little
Yes,
bit. Yeah.
no, it's my biggest beef with any precision touch control. There's
Yes.
always a moment where you remove your finger and it jumps like 5 pixels to the right, and you're like, "No, that's exactly what I didn't want to have
Yeah,
happen."
yeah. And none of them have like where you can like type, and you can just be like, okay, let me just type in the timestamp that I want to go to. I want to go to 30 seconds and
Yeah.
3 frames or
But,
whatever.
but even that's a nightmare to do on a touch device because you touch
Yeah.
it, keyboard comes up, you punch it in, then
Oh
you
yeah.
hunt and peck, and then like the keyboard drops down. It's just so much easier. I feel like the keyboard and the mouse are an extension of my body when I'm editing in Premiere.
Yeah.
So it'd be really hard to go over to anything else.
Was it you that I saw, or was it somebody? I think it was somebody else. Have you ever seen those the 3D mice that they have? It's like a little
Yeah.
rod.
What's it? It's called a space mouse, I think.
Space mouse, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever used one of those?
No, I haven't, but I talked to a guy who swore by it. He was like,
Okay.
"It's the greatest thing in the world." And apparently, so it's primarily used for Fusion 360 and 3D
Yeah.
modeling softwares, but apparently you can also use it for Premiere and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought I
Actually,
haven't really looked into it much. I just saw it like earlier, I don't know, this week or last week was really kind of the first time I'd seen somebody using it, and I was like, "Oh man, that's kind of cool."
there's another one. I can't remember what the name of the company is. Oh, actually, you know what? It might be DaVinci, the company that makes Resolve.
Mhm.
They make I can't remember what it is, but it's essentially like a keyboard specifically made for their program.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it has everything mapped out on it. There's dials. I went and grabbed this. This is like a Logitech thing. That's like a dial that you're supposed to be able to use in Premiere and Lightroom and all the Adobe Suite stuff. I don't actually use it. I got it on a whim. I was like, maybe I'll try this out, and maybe it'll revolutionize my editing process. And nah, not
Nothing.
really. Yeah,
Alright.
it's
That's
a very
fantastic.
aspirational purchase.
Yeah. I have a feeling that that's probably how the space mouse will end up working out. I'll use it out of frustration for a few weeks, and then it'll just go off to the side. My
Yeah,
fear with something
yeah.
like that.
It's really hard to integrate a new piece of hardware into your workflow. Like it has to
Yeah.
be not it can't just be 10% better. It needs to be 50, 60% better. It needs to be like a
Yeah.
game changer when you start
Yeah.
using it. Scott's saying in the chat that he used to swear by the classic ball mouse.
We used to
I
have those at
I
work.
had one as a kid and I tried it. I tried to like it, but I couldn't do it.
Oh, we had them at work. Like they were, I think Logitech made them, and they kind of
Yeah.
look like their logo a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like 2 big giant buttons, and then like that little ball that you like use your thumb on.
I remember it being a bright red ball. And yeah, you
Yes.
used your thumb on it. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Those
not
balls
as,
always went missing.
yeah, true. I'm just not as dexterous with my thumb as I am with my entire hand, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like the worst one I've seen is it I forget who makes the laptop, but it's got the little red knob in the middle of the keyboard,
Oh,
and that's your
yeah.
mouse, and you just like
Yeah.
move that around.
I think that used to be an IBM thing, and then Lenovo bought it. And they
Lenovo, yeah.
certain Lenovo laptops still have that
ThinkPad, yeah.
little
I think it's a ThinkPad thing.
Yeah. I only recently realized, like, oh yeah, ThinkPad used to be an IBM thing, and then
Yeah.
Lenovo bought that brand, and now it's the Lenovo ThinkPad. But yeah, the little weird red nipple in the middle of the keyboard.
Yeah. I've never had success with it. I always hated that one. That's probably
I do.
one of my least
I'm the
favorites.
exact same way. I used to have a BlackBerry that had a little ball
Oh yeah.
above the keyboard. Yeah.
My first Google phone had that. It was
Really?
it was the G. No, it was whatever their first one was.
Oh yeah,
And
they
then the
had.
G2 had it too, I think.
Yeah. So before they had Pixels,
Yeah.
they had Nexus phones.
Yeah.
And
And
before
before that,
Nexuses, they had the G phones, right?
yeah. Yeah. I think it
Yeah,
was just like a G1 and a G2 were the only ones they ever did for it.
Yeah.
The G1 had the little ball, like and it had like physical like home and return buttons and all that fun stuff. And it had
Yeah.
like the pop up, like it slid out like a sidekick and had a full like real
Yep.
keyboard and everything underneath of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember when phones were fun. Phones used to be fun. Now they're all the same, basically.
they are.
But I to the credit of the phone makers, it's because we've all kind of just honed in on the thing that worked the best, I guess.
Yeah,
To be honest, like I can't even edit on a laptop. Trying to use a trackpad
Yeah.
is a nightmare for me. I can't do it. I need the full desktop experience. I'm very spoiled that way.
Yeah, I got a separate mouse just for my laptop. So whenever I
Mhm.
sit down on my laptop, I can use that.
I've thought
But
about I thought about getting like a little mini travel mouse that I kind of carry around with my laptop.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was disappointed when I built my desktop to find out that Windows 11 does not, if you do home edition, you
Mhm.
can't do remote access on your computer. You
Really?
had
You
to have
need
the
that's a
Pro
pro
edition
thing?
for remote. Yeah.
Oh,
So I
interesting.
was like, I was a little disappointed because I was planning on just sitting down on my laptop and being able to edit sitting down
Y-
in a living room
And remote,
remotely.
like remote into your desktop. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I can't do that. So,
I mean, I'll let you in and the viewers in on a little secret. You can get Windows 11 Pro key for like $15.
oh, really?
Yeah, they're really cheap. So there's these websites that will take there's OEM keys, which like so say you're Dell or something like that, and you want to buy 10,000 Windows keys to put on your next 10,000 laptops. They buy them in bulk and they buy them dirt cheap. And there's these companies that will go out there and buy the OEM keys and then resell them dirt cheap to individuals.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's very very affordable to get a Windows key. So
Might have to look
if
into
it's
that.
worth
Might be
15
worth it.
bucks to you, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't
I know.
actually know. I was buying a Windows key the other night for a project I'm working on, and I was like, "Do I want home or do I want pro?" And I was like, "I don't rightfully know what the difference is between the two."
Yeah. I
So,
don't,
okay,
they're not,
good
they don't
point.
do a great job of like illustrating that either. It's definitely like purposely vague.
Yeah, yeah. I find that with actually a lot of software lately.
Yeah. I don't like that.
So, what do you think? What's the biggest challenge you face when making short form content?
Ooh, understanding what people are where exactly people are clicking off. Like, I know you got
Yeah.
analytics and all that, but whenever
Yes.
you really like, at least whenever I'm looking at my analytics, I can't. It's not like whenever you're looking at a YouTube video where you see like people are watching up to this point, and then you start to see the drop off. Like
Yeah.
on Instagram, I don't think I have that. I think it just tells me like on average people watch it about this far, but I don't
I
have
think
that same
I
detail.
I do have it. I can see a
Oh,
little chart, much like a YouTube video, but that might be. Do you have the creator account or the professional account? They change the branding of these things so
yeah, I
often.
know.
You don't?
I don't remember. I don't remember which one I have.
Oh, okay.
I have a professional dashboard, so I
So
think I
just
have
go
professional.
like try poking around in the analytics of one of your reels and see if you can get in there. But look, just because you can see a graph of when people are tuning out doesn't necessarily mean that you know why they're tuning out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which
Oh yeah,
is
yeah. There is there. I
okay.
think in the past I haven't had as much data for it or something. I don't know, but yeah, there it
It's
is. Or maybe
it's a
I'm looking too
relatively
far.
new thing. I've only noticed it in like the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
just trying to make heads or tails of that stuff is like
yeah.
has been the biggest one, and it's weird because like I'll have like on average it's like 300 to 500 views a video. Like
Okay.
there's not a lot, but every once in a while, probably every 12 or 24, I'll have one that'll go into like the tens of thousands of views,
Mhm.
and it'll just shoot up. It'll do it really quick too, and then it just like stops. Like it does like a
Right.
hard stop. It's not
Right.
like it doesn't trail off. It's not like, it's just it's really weird. It's like I'll hit a certain number and I'll just see it
Yeah.
stop. And then but then I'll look at the analytics and I'm like, well, people are watching like more than half of the video on average. I don't understand why it's not
So
going any further out. And that's the
I
thing I
have
don't like.
my theory on why that is, and I think the same thing applies to YouTube as well.
Okay.
And it has to do with the way the analytics get reported to you. Like I think they give you an average for
Mm,
everybody who's viewed the video. So you can kind of see like, okay, it's a minute long video. On average, people watch for 30 seconds. You're like, well, that's great retention. So why is this video all of a sudden stop being promoted in the algorithm? I think what's happening is when it comes to deciding who it's going to show it to, or if it's going to show it to more people, it's actually looking at the marginal number. So it's looking at like the last 100 people who viewed it. And if they're all tuning out within the first couple seconds, then it stops promoting it. So that's why you
Okay.
often see those hard stops. It's like it kind of reached a level where it was like, okay, this is kind of as far as this reel is going to go, or this
So
piece of short.
my tinfoil hat thought process was maybe this is I'm getting into like a click farm loop somewhere, and that's
I
getting
mean,
like it's taking off on that, and then that gets flagged, and so like all those views get negated, and then it goes back to nothing essentially.
maybe. I mean, that like I look, we're all just trying to generate
Yeah,
our
we're all
best
trying to
beer.
figure it out.
Yeah. I remember, especially when I was a lot more involved in the short form content, there was a lot of like conspiratorial thinking, like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't post enough this month on Instagram, so like punishing me, or like I didn't like enough other people's stuff. I kind of think the content lives or dies on its own merit.
Yeah.
And I think the platforms are just really good at this point at knowing whether or not the next person is going to want to watch this video. And it just kind of, it rises to the point that I don't know how to say this. It rises to the point that it's kind of meant to be at, and then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we know statistically the next person is not interested in watching this, so we're just going to hard cut it off right here.
And that makes sense. Yeah. It's definitely like trying to like stay away from that tinfoil hat territory is like it's hard.
I
Just
mean,
trying to be real with yourself is hard.
Very hard, exceedingly hard. And I think that's where a lot of people actually get caught up, especially in the early days of content creation, because you're like, I worked so hard on this thing. You're so close to it, right?
Yeah.
That you're like, well, this is a masterpiece. I spent 100 hours crafting this thing, right? And it only got 10 views. And it's like, well, clearly it must be the algorithm's fault this is not getting promoted. And it's like, maybe, but also maybe you need to like re-examine some of your assumptions and tweak your formula a little bit and try some new things. And I say that like it's the easiest thing in the world to do. It's not.
No, yeah.
It's really hard to do. It's really effing hard to do. But that's why I think the same thing applies to all forms of, quote unquote art. How many of us know musicians or painters or something like that who they just kind of make what they want to make, and they don't really take the audience's feedback into consideration. They like consider like selling out or whatever. But like if you're trying to make something for the enjoyment of other people, you need to be focused on what they want. And I think as much as we hate to admit it, like the view count is kind of a good metric for that. It's a good proxy for it anyways. It's the best
the
we
name
have.
of the game is selling out after all. I mean, that is kind of the point.
It's true. That's very true. That's very true.
I'm okay with that. I got no problem with that.
So on the subject of selling out, have you had any brand partnerships? Anybody come knocking at the door lately?
Nobody recently, but I do have a project coming up where I want to do a wall behind me. One of those, slat walls that you see a lot. And I was thinking about reaching back out to Floor and Decor about having that done and seeing if they'll at least supply the slat wall itself for
sure. So
since I have a history there.
Yeah, for sure. When you were working with them before, when you're making your desk, were you working directly with them, like an internal team, or was it through an ad agency or something?
Nah, see, that's it. I was working through a different, like it was a company called People First, and they connect smaller creators with people that are, companies that are looking to you get on platform or whatever. And it was definitely, there was a third party involved. So I'm going to try and go directly to them and see if maybe they can connect me with the right people, and then cutting out the middleman. I'm hoping that like maybe that'll help with getting what I want from it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I'm sure whatever they paid that company to run that whole campaign is going to vastly exceed the amount of free material that you'd be requesting in order to do this wall. So
Exactly.
yeah. The thing I've run into in the past with that is a lot of time these brands, like, it's hard to reach their marketing department. So I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a way. Maybe you've already looked into this. Maybe you already have the right email addresses and stuff to reach out to. But that's just a challenge I faced in the past.
Oh, email address. That's a novel concept compared to what I was thinking. DM the direct Instagram account. That's
Dude,
where my
yeah.
start was going to be.
Honestly, that works sometimes too. Because I mean,
Yeah.
theoretically, there's a social media person. Like, they have somebody from their social media team whose job is to watch that account. Whether or not they'll
Yeah.
actually respond,
Yeah. I figure since I've already got like they're already tagged as a partnership
True.
on my account, then I should at least get read is my hope.
Yep.
And then yeah, maybe I'll follow up with some emails too.
Well,
whoever can
honestly,
find.
I think if you can get read, you have a very attractive offer for them. So it's just that it's whether or not they're actually on the ball enough to be watching their inbox and responding to
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
I wish you luck with that. That's I think that's kind of a good idea for aspiring creators or up and coming creators. It's like, if you can work out reciprocal relationships like that, where you can get materials and stuff like that, that can really offset some of the costs of your projects, but
Yeah.
you don't have the full blown, like, this is a paid partnership where we need to go back and forth, and you're going to approve my video and you're going to get input on my concept and all these things. Because some of
Yeah.
that, especially when you're making less than $1,000, it's often, we've talked about it on the show before, but it's often not worth all the administrative overhead that comes with it. But if you
Oh,
can just say, hey, can I come to your shop and pick up some materials for this project, and then I'll tag you in the video and say where I got the stuff, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a very attractive value proposition for both you and the brand.
Yeah. And then like to piggyback on that, like another thing that I found success with is following brands that I actually use or that I'm interested in
Yeah.
and tagging them when I do use them. And I've had, a couple of them reach out offering to send me stuff for, no attachments or anything, just because
Yeah.
they've seen me using it before. And
Yep.
that's been nice.
I mean, yeah, if you run a company or something like that and you have an Instagram account, like, say whatever, you have a paint company and you have an Instagram account where you're posting semi-regularly, start tagging paint companies.
Yeah.
They love that stuff, and it's a great way to get free material and it's like a natural integration because you're like already using that product already, because assumably you like it. So you'd be
And the
surprised.
brushes and all the rollers and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how willing these companies are to send out free product just to get that natural placement, quote unquote natural.
Yeah.
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 That's interesting. So, okay, I kind of want to go back to this concept of like what your long-term vision is. And I know obviously you don't have like something that's mapped out specifically. But
Yeah, it's hard.
are you hoping that you can master the short form game, and then once you have that kind of at least at a level where you're comfortable at, then go into the long form stuff?
My plan right now is to, well, man, I'm still split, but
Yeah.
to dial up the short form stuff, to hone in on those skills while also still making the long form stuff that I want to make.
Yeah.
To also, hone in on those skills, really just to build up a back catalog so that whenever I do start putting out more of the videos that are going to be, utilizing the skills that I don't know yet, that get me to where I need to be, I'll at least have something, there will be more there than just like that first one,
So you said
like
something
I
there
said.
that was kind of interesting. You said, when I start making the long form videos that I want to make.
Yeah.
So is the long form stuff more, do you like, is it more, I don't know. Do you think that's more creatively fulfilling?
Oh yeah. I feel
The-
like I like the idea of being able to tell more of a complete story
Yeah.
and I feel like long form allows for that. I feel like short form is like text messaging, and long form is like email. With the
Yeah.
text message, I can use some goofy emojis and I can convey a thought or
Yeah.
two. But really, if I want to tell a story or articulate something deeply, it's going to be an email. I'm not going to do
Hmm.
that through a text message.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of akin to the short form and long form. The short form is great for like, a quick joke or a tidbit or an idea or, a passing thought or two, maybe in
Yeah.
one video.
Yeah.
But long form, that's where I'm going to tell a story. That's where I'm going to get a little deeper. That's where I'm going to kind of really spread out, so to speak, in as far as like the project itself,
Yeah.
get more into the details of things for sure.
Because there's tons of people, like, you can make a very nice living just doing short form content.
Yeah, we've seen them.
So I mean, you could, if you get good enough at doing short form. Do you ever see a world where you only do that, or is it in your heart where I want to tell long, big stories?
Um,
Because we're
I
talking
think
about selling out here, right? So
I think
if your only
short
objective
form,
is to make money,
yeah, if your only objective is to make money, then yeah, short form would be probably where I would focus at the most. I feel
yeah,
like it feels like more of like a maybe it's just because where we are, because it's still early, it's still infant. Um, that it feels more like a cash grab right now. Like it's more
yeah.
like get in while you can, get what you can before this whole thing disappears. Because who
Interesting.
knows where it's going to be in like 3 years? 3 years
Yeah.
ago,
Well, I
we
mean,
didn't think it was going to be here.
I mean, 3 years ago, I was kind of like thinking the same thoughts you were thinking. Like, I don't know how long this thing's going to
Yeah,
last. It might just be a flash in the pan, and it kind of just keeps on trucking along. So
yeah,
I don't know.
that's true.
The longer I do this for, the more optimistic I am that there's a little bit of legs here. And then also being on through Sophie, I see how much these companies are willing to spend on traditional advertising,
Oh
and I'm
yeah,
like, oh, the amount they spend on social must be just a drop in the bucket compared to like some of these, TV and print and even
oh yeah,
traditional banner ads and stuff like that. There's an unbelievable amount of money that gets spent on this stuff. So there's still room for companies to increase their ad spending
yeah.
on social media. And I honestly, I mean, this is purely a I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here? It behooves me to think this, but I think you get better value for your money on social media than you do with like a banner ad or a TV ad or something like that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. With I'd say Gen, the millennials and younger for sure.
Yeah,
I think like if you're shooting towards like Gen X and um, boomers and all that, then
true,
yeah, you're old
true.
school. That's probably
That's
where you're gonna get the most bang for your buck. Unless it's political, and then yeah, go to town on social media because that's what they're there for.
yeah, the boomers I love getting all political on Facebook, that's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I just think like the ability to have like a quote unquote trusted name that somebody has like some sort of relationship with advertising a product has to be more impactful than just driving by a billboard for that product on the side of the road.
yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? And you
Yeah,
get to be so much more targeted in your marketing. You can like, you know, you can pair the product with the presenter. So, if somebody's a really big golfer, you can advertise golf clubs on their channel.
yeah,
Like, it just seems so much more targeted and specific and a smarter way to market to me, as
and
opposed to,
really, if it's a product that that person already uses
yeah,
or would be inclined to use at the very least, and then they continue to use it after the ad's over in the videos that they continue to produce, that's like, I mean, you're getting money for nothing there.
well, for sure. Like, where is it? I got the earlier in the year, or last late at the end of last year, I was sponsored by Linus Tech Tips and their
Oh
screwdriver.
yeah, yeah,
And I love that infant screwdriver. I use it all the time. It's been in every single video since that as
yeah.
just like, generic product placement or passive product placement, I guess would be a better
Mm.
word. So
Got their
there's
logo
also
on it and
opportunities.
everything.
Yeah. I've worked with DeWalt. I have like hundreds of DeWalt and Craftsman tools that I use all the time. So yeah.
Yeah. definitely. It'd be nice to get one of them going.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's a matter of time. You just gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta. Unfortunately, you gotta put in the hours. You gotta
Pay your
be
dues.
there. And look, like you were saying before, like those relationships were like DeWalt specifically. I already had a workbench full of DeWalt tools, and I just
Yeah.
started tagging them because I was already using them, and I slowly built that relationship. It started with, "Hey, here's some free tools. Check out this new sander we just released, or whatever the hell." And then at a certain point, it was like, "Okay, we're really looking to push this new product. What do you think about doing some reels, and we'll pay you or whatever?" So
Yeah. Okay. I like
so
that.
there is definitely a road to it. It's tricky too, though, because sometimes you do a lot of free videos for a company,
Mhm.
and it's hard to make that transition into being a paid creator on their
'Cause they'd be getting
roster.
free. Why are they going to pay for it?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So there needs to be. I mean, this. I think I'm probably pretty bad at this just because my personality type. But I think if you're a little bit more of a hard nosed negotiator, you could probably pull off that transition relatively easily.
Oh, that's definitely not me.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think
It's
that's
tough
not
being a nice
most
guy sometimes.
creatives.
Yeah, true, true. Well, I mean, hopefully at some point you get hooked up with what Eric and I have, which is an
Yeah.
agent, so then you can get to be hands off with it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the dream, right?
yeah. Because I mean, honestly, I was for a long time I was underselling myself, and I didn't know, and so it takes you kind of have to have an asshole in your corner at a certain point.
Yeah.
Maybe
Everybody
not an
needs
asshole, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Everybody needs a pit bull.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
but again,
Like,
that's a luxury of being a little bit more of a veteran creator, somebody who's been around for a little bit longer.
yeah.
Yeah.
John in the comments is asking long-term monetization plans. I'm assuming referring to me, sponsorships, AdSense,
Yeah.
own
Yeah,
products and services.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of expanding on what you're asking. Yeah, I don't have any plans for any specific sponsorships. I do know that I don't want to take on anything that, and I feel like every creator says this. I don't want to take on anything I don't believe in or I wouldn't personally use. Um, that being said, I'm open to having my mind changed.
I'm trying to think if there's ever any products or sponsorships that came my way where I was like kind of on the fence about it, and then I tried it and it was really good. I don't
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, going back to selling out, I think unfortunately everybody has their price.
Yeah,
You
eventually.
know, Ryobi shows up with a dump truck full of money at your front door. You might not
Hey,
be the biggest Ryobi tools fan, but like, yeah, they're good
they'll be
tools. They serve
yellow
a
and green
purpose.
before you know it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So,
Yeah. I have no problem with that. But yeah, and in AdSense, like as far as I hear, that's not the most lucrative. Definitely not something you want to depend on. I look at AdSense as it'll be a nice bonus if I
yeah.
start pulling that in.
It
I've thought about my own products and I just I haven't I don't well, I mean, it's probably like me and my own self-confidence issues. I don't feel like there's anything I have to add to the product pool that already exists that's going to be of value.
yeah.
And so I haven't really thought about products. I thought about I've done a couple of plans and put them up on Etsy
Mhm.
and had a few purchases. I'd like to expand that out to at least half a dozen before I transition them onto my own website. I
Right,
feel like it'd be
sure.
silly to just put 2 up on my own website, so I
Yeah.
wanna kinda, like, build that out a little bit.
I mean,
Um,
you can have both in parallel at the same time, right? You can
yeah,
have an
that's
Etsy
true.
store and your own website too.
Yeah, the Etsy store doesn't hurt, and you can get some nice feedback from the Etsy, analytics that
True. Very true.
I'm not getting from my website, but that's a whole 'nother story. I need to figure out a better
Yeah.
service there. And then, services, I do like the idea of services. I like the idea of eventually, um, taking what I've learned and teaching that to other creators that want to get
Okay.
into the space
Okay,
and
so
like
maybe
and being a
doing
teacher.
something like this course that you just signed up for, like maybe creating your own, Or but
Yeah.
more tailored to the individual because you're saying a
Eh,
service as opposed to product,
I'd like to do it more on a one-on-one type of situation,
like a
like,
coaching.
yeah, like coaching, yeah,
Yeah,
something like,
interesting.
um, or take on maybe, more of a production, role as far
Okay.
as, like, I like producing the podcasts. That's been a lot of fun. I've been able to get a few more of those going.
Yeah,
That's been nice. I kind of like doing that. It's a little time consuming though, just having to sit
right.
down and listen to the whole other podcast and then do all the other stuff for it. Um, as far as like how time consuming it is versus like how much you can really get away with charging on something like that until you get to
Yeah,
like the really big ones. I
yeah,
need to like go up a level before I can get there, but
yeah.
yeah, doing that. I think yeah, the coaching. That would be a
Coaching.
that'd be a lot. I think that's the exit strategy as far as like
Interesting.
once the social media thing is run its course, once, my own channel is kind of petered out, like whenever I'm at like the hopefully like a Steve Ramsey's level, like where
Yeah,
I'm like, I've done all the videos I feel like I need to do. I'm gonna take a step back. That's whenever I'll turn to like coaching or something along those lines.
interesting. Interesting. I wonder if we'll see more creators kind of taking that career arc as time goes on.
I think so. I feel like there's
Yeah,
only so much like that you can there's only, like especially in our niche in woodworking, let's say, there's only so many projects that you can do before you're kind of repeating yourself as far as like the different techniques, not
yeah.
necessarily with the individual projects, but with like the techniques that you're illustrating and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, I feel
I
like you've got a shorter arc in our niche, probably like 5 to 8 years, and then you're pretty spent.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many times you can talk. I struggle with that one a lot because I find myself doing even my videos like I'm doing a lot of the same things over and over again in every project, right?
Mhm.
And I'm like, do I explain each step even if I've done it in a previous video? But like just because somebody is watching my current video doesn't mean they saw my last one too, right? So you want to make them stand on their own, but you don't want to say the same thing again and again in every video. So it's a little bit of a balancing act that you have to walk. But I think
Yeah.
the nice thing about our niche is that the project is so important a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So if you have a good mind for like thinking of creative projects, even if you're doing the same techniques over and over again, I think that becomes less important too. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think out loud here. I feel like I've transitioned away from explaining the nuts and bolts of what I'm doing to more explaining the reasoning for doing things and trying to craft a story around, trying to create an entertaining story around the project with tips sprinkled in as opposed to creating a purely instructional, like, this is how you make the thing. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the yeah, I don't know. There's definitely like I can see it in a lot of creators that have been around for a while. They reach a point where you can tell that they can tell they've told
They've
about
totally,
all
yeah.
they know. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've expelled all of their knowledge and they are on this merry-go-round now.
Yep.
And they'll start trying to do other things or,
Yeah.
expand out into other niches or transitioned into some other position of some sort. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely something to like consider, like where you'd want to be from, what's your exit plan look
So
like?
yeah, yeah. Well, I
Or,
mean,
keep
look,
going.
JCats is a great example of this. He was
Yeah.
like, at a certain point, I want to get into product sales, starting a store, selling things like,
Yeah.
and he's been really successful at doing it. That was like a long-term vision of his. So I think it is important to have that. I'm still working on myself. I don't know where I'm going to be in 3-4 years, but yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's
hopefully, the more ideas keep coming. That's all you
yeah,
can hope for, right?
yeah, yeah.
I
I've
mean,
I,
they're always going to have new technology. I mean, 3 years ago, you didn't think you were going to be doing 3D printing and stuff like that as much in your videos, I'm sure.
Well, exactly. And, maybe I just got lucky and that 3D printing happened to be like a good fit for my audience because that was something that I kind of stumbled into. I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy doing this. And it's kind
Yeah.
of a new type of building. So I got lucky that unlocked a whole bunch of new video ideas. I'm hoping, in the future, I'll just find other things like 3D printing. Like maybe I'll get really into TIG welding and that'll unlock a whole bunch of new.
Ooh, yeah.
Or maybe I'll get really into making my own PCBs or something like that. So
Rebuilding a motorcycle, whatever.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, like I mean, I've talked a million times about wanting to do more automotive stuff. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll save it for when Eric's back. But I saw a really cool design for this modular pickup truck. That
Oh,
it's
is it the
like
slate?
the slate. Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you see it too?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. I was looking that up the other day because I was like, how much are these things going to cost?
Apparently low 20,000s, they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They don't really have a whole lot of information on their website because I was more like, okay, what would it cost? Because I definitely don't want like the base model one, but what would it cost if I wanted to add just a few things to it?
yeah.
And that's where I was like, I'm not getting any information. And then I started looking into it more, and they're like, oh yeah, they're not even going to start rolling off the line until like 2027 or something. I was like, oh,
I know. I feel like they launched, and I get why they do it because they're trying to build hype. They're trying to
yeah,
basically, build hype to boost share value so that they can keep using venture capital money to grow their company, right?
yeah,
But you see this thing, and it's like they have all these cool videos of it, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to like go buy one of those. And you're like, oh, it's not going to coming out for 4 years. Like
yeah.
immediately, all of your hype dies for it. So
I seem to remember the Cybertruck. They
Yeah.
put you could do the $100 deposit on that
Yep.
as early as like 2017 or 2018, something like that.
Dude, if you
And
go
they
back,
weren't even going to come out until 2020 at that
I
time.
know. And if you go back and you look at those Cybertruck like presentations, they were like the cheapest one's going to be $30,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's like not even close. Not even.
No,
I think
yeah.
the cheapest one you can get is like 70 grand or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Now they're just giving away, it seems like.
Well, true. I think they're having a little bit of trouble moving units at this point, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Oh man, that slate truck is cool. I was talking with Scott Walsh about this, and he was like, "That truck is like perfect. It's like made for your YouTube channel because you can
yeah.
like 3D print parts for it. You can like bolt on stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I liked it up until it was only 2-seater. Unless you go for the SUV
one?
conversion,
Yeah.
and then you don't have a truck anymore. And I was
Then
like,
you don't have
well,
a truck. Yeah. Well,
I want a
hopefully maybe
four-seater
they'll
truck.
do. I like the concept of like a modular
yeah.
platform for a truck. So hopefully they have success with this one, and then in the future they're like, here's a 2-row one that you can get with a pickup truck bed, or you can
Yeah.
make it a 3-row full size SUV or whatever.
Yeah. I definitely, I'm with you. I like that. They were talking about like, all you needed was an Allen key and you could do
Yeah.
pretty much so anything with it. And I was like, I love that.
I hate working on cars because they make it so hard to do everything, and I think it's the ethos is like they want you to take it to the dealership and have them
Yeah.
work on it so they can charge you a whole boatload of money to do it. But so many things are like such a pain in the ass to do on cars. And it's just so
Yeah.
refreshing to see a company be like, yeah, you want to take off the door? It's 4 Allen bolts that are exposed at all times. Like, boom,
Yeah. Absolutely.
easy.
You
Yeah.
want to change the color? Just get a new wrap on it. That's all you
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah. I remember I had an F-150 and I was like, I really like the grill from another trim level. I was like, surely I can just go on eBay and buy the different grill and swap it onto my truck. And I remember looking into it and it was like a 3-hour procedure to swap the grill.
Oh man.
And I was like, why? This is insane. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
Or
always
like if you want to go change out your stereo or something, you gotta basically dismantle the entire dash.
Yeah, and it's like it's all put together with adhesives and stuff like that, so it never goes
Yeah.
back together. It seemed like such a missed opportunity by car companies. Like, why not sell a more modular vehicle and then do what Slate is doing, where you kind of not only are you selling the vehicle, but you're also selling all the accessories.
Yeah.
Because like if I could easily swap the grill on my truck, maybe I would buy 3 of them and like change them out depending like over time. I'll start with one, get tired of it, buy a different one. It's like a good opportunity to like sell DLC essentially for the vehicle.
Yeah. But they're trying to sell you a whole new vehicle every couple of years.
Yeah.
That's the kicker.
But I mean, Who knows? Maybe you can make more money selling accessories then.
That's the hope, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anyways, I like the vision that they're coming out with Slate. I
Yeah.
wish them success, and hopefully it actually even comes to market, because Lord knows there's been a lot of electric car companies that said they were going to come to market and never did.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be nice. I know I heard that I think it's the UK is pushing to go all electric with all their vehicles in the
Really?
future. Yeah.
See,
I've
I don't
seen a lot of
know.
things.
I don't know how I feel about electric cars. On one hand, I like it. I like that
Yeah.
there's options out there. But some days, man, I'm just like, I know I could get like a Tesla that would be faster than,
Yeah.
whatever in a straight line, anyways. That'd be faster than whatever, a Porsche or whatever. But I see the Porsche, I'm like, the vroom vroom sound, all that stuff. It seems more exciting to me, and maybe that's a generational thing or something like that. But it's gonna be
Yeah,
hard for
maybe.
me. It's gonna be hard for me to give up a gas engine.
Yeah. I think there'll always be a spot for them.
I would like to. If I did end up getting the Slate, it would definitely be as like a second vehicle. So I would keep like a gas vehicle, and then I would have the little electric truck. I think that's
Yeah.
my ideal world.
I'd be curious to see how much you could load on that thing. That was the other thing I could find an answer on, is how much load it could take.
Yeah, I'm curious. I used to think that like the towing capacity of a vehicle had a lot to do with like its frame and the trailer hitch and stuff like that. But my friend was telling me that a lot of it actually comes down to the transmission.
Mhm.
So I wonder if being an electric vehicle and having a simplified, drivetrain, it might actually be able to tow a lot. I don't know. It's
Yeah. I'd be curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the Cybertruck good for towing?
I have no idea.
I
I
think
haven't looked into it.
I think the electric F-150 was pretty good at towing.
No,
I think
yeah.
it could tow something like 11,000 pounds or something crazy. Like
Yeah,
that.
I want to say they showed like a big boat being towed behind one of them.
Yeah. I think they even have one where it like pulled a train or something like that as part of the marketing.
Yeah.
So I think the electric cars in general are decent at towing, but I'm really just spitballing here. I don't actually know.
I have no idea.
Well,
we're at over an hour.
I know we made it over an hour. Should we transition on to the after show for our beautiful patrons out there?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this one without Eric chiming in every second with his annoying nasally drone.
He'll never know. He doesn't listen.
I know. He's never going to. We actually should have taken more of an opportunity to talk shit about him while he's been gone.
We'll save it for the after show. He definitely won't listen there.
There we go. Exactly. All right. I like it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Spicy.
Do we have the outro?
Oh, yeah.
We give a huge shout out to our returning top tier patrons: Corey Duvall at Woodcrafts and Honey, Josh at Sawdust Bills, Joe Welsh at Delaware Valley Workshop, Goblin Spanker,
You can't say that anymore.
Building Creative.
Bingo, bango. You're done.
Zach, to be honest with you, I don't even know if I follow you.
You should stop.
I guess Eric did sneak in with the credits and everything.
Yeah, true. He's in the outro and the intro, so I can't get rid of him completely. All right, live stream crew, thank you so much for tuning in and spending the last hour with us. And I assume we're going to see a good number of you guys over at the after show.
I'd say at least 3 of them.
Yeah. See you, everybody.
See ya.